So you might be getting ready to play your first session, or maybe you're going to be GMing for the first time, and you're thinking about the times you've played before, or you've seen it in movies, or you've been listening to podcasts or seeing live plays on YouTube, and you're hearing these wonderful characters and fully developed voices, and you're thinking, man, do I have to do that? Maybe this particular game isn't for me. That's not the case at all. My name is Don. I'm trying to be the sly strategist, and let's go ahead and get into that. Now, a lot of times you'll be thinking that the role play is all about developing your character and breathing life into it, and you have to do voices in order to sell what you're trying to do. That's not really the case. It does add a lot of depth. It can add fun if that is something you like to do, but there is no way that it should prevent you from either playing or trying to be a GM if you can't do voices. This is a little bit of a tell here, but I, as far as voices go, am as creative as a paper bag. I'm not very good at it. I don't think that is something that I really think about while I'm playing, and I don't think you should either. The basic point, especially when you're listening to the live plays or the professionals in podcasts, is they are trying to sell a story, and your story's kind of going on in your head and with your friends, and that's what you should really be concentrated on, not overthinking what you're doing. But if you want to try voices and you're not very good at it, let me go ahead and try and give a few tips to it. Now, doing a voice for a character could be as simple as changing the speed. Let's say you're doing a gnome or a goblin. You can just speed up how you're talking and try to get that across. You can slow down. Once again, just changing your pacing is good. You could also try increasing the pitch of your voice or lowering it depending on what you're trying to do with your character. Maybe it's an orc. Maybe you could, if you're working with a character that is royalty, just do something as simple as not use contractions. Instead of saying don't, just say do not. And always include the honorific when you're talking to someone. Call them sir or call them Mr. or Mrs. There are many ways that you can work on the role play without having to be a master craftsman or go through 3 years of acting school in order to play, nor should you feel intimidated by that particular fact. Especially if you're doing this through a virtual tabletop with video, or if you're doing this on a live table, you can use body language in order to work on your character. You can, if they're a small character, you can literally like crunch down when you're doing it. Or if they're a big character, throw your shoulders back and talk while you're trying to embody the bravado that that particular character may have. But it doesn't have to be the voice. Now, one of the things you're trying to do when you're giving a character a voice is to differentiate between your players and to the GM that when you are talking and when your character is talking. A voice or the body language or the things you do can be helpful, but you don't have to do it. You can literally just say, speaking as my character Nobby the Goblin, this is what I would like to do. It doesn't have to be so over the top if you're not comfortable with it. So don't feel the need to be pressured into doing it. It is not all the time necessary. But if you do enjoy it, please feel free to do it as big as you want. And a lot of times it's going to depend on the table you're at. Some tables are, and I've used this term a couple times, and there's nothing wrong with it, but some tables are more combat simulators. In other words, they are, generally speaking, when they're doing the combat, it's rolls, it's damage. If they're doing downtime, they would rather just look at a table of things and say, I would like this, this, and this. I have this amount of gold, and that transaction takes place. And there are other tables where you're going to be playing and you're not going to roll a dice for 2-3 sessions because You are role-playing the interactions you're having with the town guards, as well as the fortune teller, as well as the shopkeepers. And both of those are totally valid styles of play, and both of those are extremely fun, and there's nothing wrong with doing either. So part of it is also knowing what your table is going to be doing. Now, here's a few tips for a new game master or a game master who is a little bit intimidated by doing voices. You know what? You don't have to. Instead of working on the voices, if you're not good at it or if you're not comfortable with it, you can focus on the NPC's personalities and motivations. What are they like? What would they want from the players? What are they afraid of? And once you have a good understanding of that particular NPC's personality, it's easier to role play them without having a voice attached to it. You can use descriptive language, like we were saying for the player side of it, where you could say the shopkeeper says, "Welcome to my shop." And just a little bit of inflection can add that, but you actually don't even need to do the inflection if you don't want to. You could also describe the scene as opposed to doing the voice or trying to imply the NPC's motivations through a voice. You could literally say, you walk into the shop and the shopkeeper smiles warmly at you and gestures for you to come in, as opposed to trying to pull off a welcoming tone if that's not something you're into. It'll help bring the NPC to life without you actually having to do something you're not comfortable with. Once again, you can use body language, especially if you're at a table or if you're playing with a virtual table, but there's video involved. Another good thing if you are physically at a table or once again with video is you can use props. Those can be used to pretty good effect. If you are talking about a banker, you could go ahead and put on a little cap and those little armbands that you see like a Vegas dealer would use. You could put on an apron if you want to. But once again, I don't want to oversell these overt actions. If you don't want to do them, you should not feel intimidated in order to play or to be a GM. These are things you can do if you're not good at voices, but you don't have to actually do any of them. The best thing that you can do is just go ahead and play. And regardless of what your motivations are or what your comfort level is with trying to do voices in a particular game, talk to your players or talk to your GM or talk to the people at your table. Some people are uncomfortable even doing the attempt. So just tell everybody at the beginning of a session, say, I'd like to try to do a voice today. It might not work out, but I'm going to give it a shot. In that brief explanation, everybody is going to kind of give you a break, maybe not tease you so much. And when you try it the first time, they're not going to give you that weird look like you just did something totally alien. Now, I hope this little conversation maybe gave you a little bit of comfort in the fact that even if you're not good at voices, like I'm not good at voices, you can still fully enjoy the game as a player and as a GM. And you shouldn't feel pressured to do it or feel like you're not good enough because you can't do these things. There are many other ways that you can bring life to your character or bring life to the NPCs or bring life to the setting without having to be an actor. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope maybe it alleviated some of your concerns, maybe some of your fears, maybe made you think about some things that you could do differently if you're really intimidated by the thought of doing voices. So I hope that at the end of this video, you are just going to go out and play. So if you liked it, feel free to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And regardless of what you do, I hope you have a good day and happy adventuring. Thanks.